Hello, I am Martha Parker, librarian in residence at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville.
And I'm Jeff Banks, Head of Library Human Resources at the University of Arkansas Libraries. Martha, if I could ask you a few questions about your recent ACRL presentation on the 2012 Diversity Standards for Academic Libraries. I believe this is a much needed development in the area of diversity.
Sure, but before we start, you appear a little bit surprised about the standards. Could you elaborate a little?
Sure, I have to admit I am surprised. I've worked with libraries and diversity for quite some time now, and I've never seen guidelines or a framework as detailed and thorough as these diversity standards. So to my first question, Martha, what do the acronyms ACRL and RETC stand for?
ACRL stands for the Association of College and Research Libraries. REDC is the ACRL Racial and Ethnic Diversity Committee, the committee charged with the development of the 2012 Diversity Standards for Academic Libraries.
Great. So how did you get involved with the presentation of these standards?
My involvement with the standards began last January when I attended the American Library Association Midwinter Conference. While attending one of the sessions, I met Rayette Sterling from Eastern Washington University and current REDC chair, and Charlene Maxey Harris from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and former REDC chair. At that particular point, they had already developed the standards and were pending ACRL approval. I was asked if I could assist the committee once the standards were approved with marketing.
I see. So that explains your recent presentation at the Joint Conference of Librarians of Color in Kansas City last month, and also your very recent presentation at the Library 2.012 conference, which is a virtual conference broadcast worldwide. Wow, so what's next?
This video, which is intended as a diversity conversation starter for academic libraries and a quick introductory tool to the standards. Would you like to go over the standards with me and strategize about what to do to implement them?
Absolutely. Let's get started. There are a total of 11 standards which are intended as a framework to drive your library efforts, depending on where you are on your diversity efforts today. The standards are based on the 2001 National Association of Social Workers Standards for Cultural Competence in Social Work. These 11 standards are intended to emphasize the need and the obligation to serve and to advocate for racially and ethnically diverse constituencies.
Standard 1. Cultural awareness of self and others. Librarians and library staff should develop an understanding of their own personal and cultural values and beliefs as a first step in appreciating the importance of multicultural identities in the lives of the people they work with and serve.
Standard 2. Cross-cultural knowledge and skills. Librarians and library staff shall have and continue to develop specialized knowledge and understanding about the history, traditions, values, and artistic expressions of colleagues, co-workers, and major constituencies served.
Standard 3. Organizational and professional values. Librarians and library staff should develop and support organizational and professional values dedicated to culturally competent service.
Standard 4. Development of collections, programs, and services. Librarians and library staff shall develop collections and provide programs and services that are inclusive of the needs of all persons in the community the library serves.
Standard 5. Service delivery. Librarians and library staff should be knowledgeable about and skillful in the use and provision of information services available in the community and broader society, and should be able to make appropriate referrals for their diverse constituencies.
Standard 6. Language diversity. Librarians and library staff shall support the preservation and promotion of linguistic diversity and work to foster a climate of inclusion aimed at eliminating discrimination and oppression based on linguistic or other diversities.
Standard 7. Workforce diversity. Librarians and library staff should support and advocate for recruitment, admissions, hiring, and retention efforts in libraries, library associations, and LIS programs to increase diversity and ensure continued diversity in the profession.
Standard 8. Organizational dynamics. Librarians and library staff shall participate in and facilitate the development of organizational dynamics that enable individuals, groups, and organizations to continually develop and exercise cultural competence.
Standard 9. Cross-cultural leadership. Library leaders should influence, support, and encourage the creation of proactive processes that increase diversity skills, empower colleagues, co-workers, and constituents from diverse backgrounds, share information about diversity populations, and advocate for their concerns.
Standard 10. Professional education and continuous learning. Librarians and library staff shall advocate for and participate in educational and training programs that help advance cultural competence within the profession.
Standard 11. Research. Research should be inclusive and respectful of non-Western thought and traditional knowledge, reflecting the value of cultural ways of knowing.
This concludes our introduction to the 2012 Diversity Standards for Academic Libraries. We thank you for your support and all of your hard work in the area of diversity. As we understand, diversity is a planning process, a dynamic process, which is inclusive, collaborative, relational, and most of all, respectful.
From the University of Arkansas Libraries in Fayetteville, we wish you the best at driving your own diversity strategic goals. Thanks.